everyone, my name is Ho Zikwan, metric number 253207. Today I'm going to talk about my persuasive speech. My persuasive speech title is The Importance of Implementing Sex Education in Malaysia. Living under a multiracial and multicultural country, talking about sensitive issues like sex, openly and overtly in Malaysia can be quite daunting and scary. Sex education in Malaysia is still a forbidden subject that faces the conservative backlash, religious restriction, and cultural taboos. When there are conflicted arguments and contradictory stands about the implementation of sex education in Malaysia, there are overestimated 18,000 underage girls in Malaysia get pregnant each year. Do you know how worrying and concerning this can be? What's more is that there are many unreported cases according to the expert from University Malaya Specialist Center. Underage marriages, baby dumping, and sexual crimes. All of these are the prominent problems in Malaysia that we rarely take notice of because of the lack of awareness of them. There will be more problems rising up in Malaysia because of the misinformation online and the lack of understanding of them. Hence, this is very important to implement sex education in Malaysia so that we will not leave these problems and suffering unknown, untreated, and uncared for. So first, I will talk about what are the prominent problems in Malaysia according to this topic. Related problems about sex like sexual crimes, underage marriages, and child abandonment are happening around us without our conscious. As we, as a student, are learning, studying at home, there are thousands of underage girls in Malaysia facing challenges and problems beyond their tender age. For example, in 2019, a Sabah girl who was just 11 years old confessed to her teacher that her grandfather has been raping her for over a year. She only realized that this is an unethical and immoral act when she was attending a sex education class in school. This proves that how important sex education to be taught in school comprehensively and thoroughly. Because without the sex education, the girl probably never realized that what her grandfather did is a sexual crime that eventually sent her grandfather to be in jail for over 27 years. Another common occurrence is underage marriage. Most of the teen marriages are reportedly arranged by the parents whom they suffer from the low income and complicated family status like being a single parent. So the young teenagers or the young children who are left unattended and uncared for are likely to wander around by themselves and make hasteful and irrational decisions that could inevitably ruin their childhood or teenagerhoods. If the parents only realize after that the children are pregnant, the parents would hastily force the children to get married quickly so that they wouldn't face the criticism and judgment from the outsiders because of their out of wedlock pregnancy. Another problem constantly happening in Malaysia is child abandonment. Data has shown that an average of 100 babies are dumped in Malaysia every year. Citing a Malay proverb, "Biar mati anak, jangan mati adat." It literally means that let the child die, but not the tradition. This proverb literally means that how a tradition culture is much more important than a baby's life, a breathing, living human being. This is totally absurd and ridiculous, as an illegitimate child to their family brings shame and embarrassment, whereas The family thinks that killing an innocent child or dumping a child is alright after all. All of this problem is caused by the innocence of the Malaysians. So next, I will talk about what are the causes of these three problems. According to a survey conducted by Ministry of Health, 35% of young Malaysian women believe that they cannot get pregnant the first time they have sex. This is such a huge misunderstanding and misinformation regarding sex in Malaysia. This can show that how inadequate and unskillful young Malaysian women prep themselves. The lack of understanding and the lack of education about sex, sexual behaviors, consent, and protection of our own bodies are the causes of these problems. According to another report conducted by various non-governmental organizations, uneducated young people will tend to experiment themselves with drug and unprotected sex, which will increase the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, STDs. That is why, without the right knowledge of sex from the legal sources, the younger generations will result in going through a lot of unnecessary challenges and life-threatening hardships. Other than that, there are a lot of stigmas and misconceptions about sex that we need to tackle about. Myths like condoms are not effective, or comprehensive sex education encouraging youths to have sex. All of these myths have to be addressed and debunked. There are scientific researches to show that these myths are misleading and untruthful. Yet, living in this social media and technology advanced world, young people will tend to indulge themselves with illegal sources and illegitimate websites. That is why they will become the victims of this misinformation online without the right knowledge from the sex education. That is why there is no more better time to implement sex education than now. Comprehensive sex education is the right path to overcome all these problems and myths in Malaysia. From the perspective of physiological, emotional, and psychological aspect, the comprehensive sex education should be more holistic and comprehensive and inclusive way other than just the normal biological understanding. Because the current sex education in Malaysia is too technical and vague as it does not touch the deeper will of sex. According to a study on sex education by University Kebangsaan Malaysia, 90% of the Malaysian respondents think that sex education is not really taught in Malaysia. Okay, even though there are teaching syllables about reproductive health in science subjects, or the bane of having premarital sex in moral and civic subject, it is just not enough to deliver the right message. Moreover, the teachers in Malaysia can be less willingly to discuss more about sex directly. They will be tending to use some metaphors and vague statements when they are answering the students' questions. Some more, they might be teachers who would just downrightly avoid the questions asked from the students if they deem the questions are too sensitive. This is why we have to bring this topic of implementing sex education in Malaysia to the Ministry of Education Malaysia, so that this long overdue issue can be brought to light on the table of Parliament. The Noyo project is a youth-led Malaysia that aims to support the underprivileged youth and promote the community-mindedness within our generation. The Noyo project initiated a petition called Make Sex Education Compulsory in Malaysia. This petition is to demand the government of Malaysia to make sex education more holistic and comprehensive, on the emphasis on the importance of consent, the psychological and emotional aspect of sex with biological understanding, as well as the benefits of having contraceptives. In line with UNESCO proposed sex education curriculum, sex education could bring down all these problems of unwanted pregnancies and instill the right awareness of protecting our own bodies without getting advantage by the people around us, not even our family members. This can show how important sex education have to be implemented in Malaysia. The topic of implementing sex education in Malaysia has been discussed through generations by generation, but never truly executing it. With the rising problems of teen marriages, child abandonment, and sexual crimes arise in Malaysia, every one of us has to step up and support the cause, so that the younger generation and the future generation will know what they are up to when it comes to protecting their own bodies. With more people supporting the cause and signing the petition of making the sex education compulsory in Malaysia from No Year project, there will be greater chances that the policy maker and the government representatives take notice of it and put it into the laws of Malaysia. Even if it sounds like a consuming work, but as a young generation, we should never lose hope that this sex education curriculum could eventually provide a long-lasting effect to our future generation, if not now, so that there will be no more images of young girls crying beside the streets, cradling a baby. Instead, there will be just a happy kid with a smile plastered on their face, studying the books that will bring them long knowledge. Thank you.